Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. In one of my past videos, if you go back on my channel, you'll see, and I'll put a link down in the description box there to the video, I made a crosscut sled. That's a really big crosscut sled. It's very heavy, very cumbersome. It's great for, you know, the big projects and stuff like that. But I figured I would make a smaller panel sled. So we got a nice shop project today, so stick around. We're going to build a panel sled. Okay, since I already made that video with the crosscut sled, I showed you guys how to make the miter runners out of hardwood and cut them to size and everything. I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to save some time, so you can go back, watch that video. You'll see how I attach that. It's nothing more than cutting a hardwood strip to fit the miter slots on your table saw, and using a little glue, gluing it in place, and then screwing it in. I did it from the top. And then you should have a miter runner that fits in the miter slot, slides back and forth, nice and easy. And that's what you want. So now that I have that already done, so like I said, go back. If you need to see how to make that, go back to my crosscut sled video, watch how I did that. What I'm going to do now that I have it set to the size, I have this set to 28 inches. And the reason I have it set like that is just for the preference of having my fence, you know, move it all the way over to 30 inches. I don't have to take my fence off the table when I need to use this. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, since it's oversized past the blade, I want to make a 0 guide mark with the blade so that I know when I put the piece of wood at the edge of the fence, once I line it up at the edge of the sled here, it's going to be completely 0 clearance and 90 degrees to the table saw blade. So I'm going to raise up the blade and I'm going to pass this through the blade and cut off that piece, making a 0 guide. Now that the panel sled is cut and the miter slot fits and we have our 0 guide mark right along the blade there, we need to make a back fence, and it needs to be square to the blade. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a piece of hardwood. This is a piece of red oak, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it first oversized. Then I'm going to run it through the jointer and I'm going to square everything up. And once I do that, then I can set it to 90 degrees to the blade, and then we can make some test cuts and see how this thing works. I also have a few of these right here, which are toggle clamps, which I'm going to attach to the rear fence later on when it's done to hold down my workpiece. This way it makes it easier to put everything through and not have to worry about it moving on me. So let's mark that right now, a little bit oversized. Need a little bit of play there. So I'm going to cross cut this, then we're going to run over to the jointer. Now what we have to do is get the fence situated to where it's going to be completely 90 degrees to the blade. I'm going to use a drafting triangle to do that and set it up against the blade and keep it off of the carbide teeth. Is bring the fence up until it's 90 degrees with the blade and the fence. Now what I'm going to do is back this off. I'm going to put one screw from the bottom in on this side, and I'm going to leave this side loose so that when I slide it back with the drafting triangle, we can square it up again. Take a clamp, clamp it in place. Slide this forward, and what I can do now is pivot the fence because only one screw is holding it in. So let's get you in close right here. Drafting square, drafting triangle rather, against the blade, not on the carbide tips. We're hitting everything. There's no gaps in between. So now, very carefully, I'm going to keep it the way it is, slowly back it off. just until you get off the edge of the table. Clamp it in place. And we're going to run another screw to the underside of this part of the fence. Now this is 3/4 material, so I'm using 1 1/4 inch screws. Now that that's secure, I can take the clamp off, run it up again, and I'm going to double check and make sure that I stayed square. Now what happens here is if it moved at all, which it didn't, I got lucky. Sometimes it does. If you slide it off and you make the clamp too tight, you wiggle it a little bit, it will move. This hasn't moved at all. But if it did, then you would have to redo the process, take the screw out and drill another hole and put another screw in a different spot. And so basically this is how the clamp is going to work. Workpiece in, clamp it down. As you can see, that's not moving at all. Okay, let's make a cut and see how accurate it is. What I'm going to do is take this piece of scrap plywood here and I'm going to set it in my clamp. I'm going to make a cut, and then I'm going to put them together and see if there's a gap, and then flip it over and double the arrow and see if there's a gap there. If we have a gap, then we need to adjust the rear fence. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm setting it on my joint table because that's nice and flat. What I'm going to do is set the original cut off. This was the original 2 faces of the board. This was where the cut was made. Just butt those together, and you can see, pretty seamless. Now, to double the error, I'm going to flip this one over, butt them up against each other, and see, by doubling the error, how we did. And I'd say we're pretty accurate there because I do not have a gap. Okay guys, so that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys build a panel sled just like it. Just make sure that you go back onto my channel and look for the crosscut sled video. That's a good video also, and I'll teach you in there how to make the runners for your miter slots out of some hardwood, and that's it. Alright guys, I'll see you next time.